but let me say thanks for the opportunity and to say good morning to your cherished listeners. Actually, it's late. It's terribly late. I think the former president came out quite early, and urged the government to at least take a clue from what he did when he suspected that, there was a need to do things slightly differently. That is, not just rely on their own understanding, knowledge, and wisdom, that of government, but also to open up to broader society and to move forward. You see, generally, wisdom has never lied in the head of any one person. So at any material moment in time, it's good to get the minds of a group of people, especially if these people are willingly prepared to, participate in decision making, and especially these are interested actors, Ghanaians, who all want the best for themselves as individuals, their communities, and for that matter, for the whole country. So yes, it was just an excellent proposal from former President Mahama. It was an excellent thing simply because if you take a look at countries that have done well, we call them modern day state builders, individuals who led their countries. Most of them come from Southeast Asia. They consciously established such a body. They linked their leadership up to society. Interestingly, they were all non-democratic leaders. Majority of them were all non-democratic leaders. They consciously tap the brains of society. They form a coalition, with society. People coming in with varied interests, but all having one thing in common, a strong local economy. And they made it. So it was a priceless sort of suggestion that former President Mahama gave the government. But then, like we are all saying, the government obviously will not pay heed to such a thing. And we are where we are now. Things are out of hand already, terribly out of hand. It is very, very late. It is very late, and it's, the effects of that particular decision of government not to, listen to that, and then review it itself and implement it on the basis of their own understanding. But basically going out, reaching out to society, inviting everybody to come on board and meeting somewhere like we did, and simply coming out with what the former president has been talking about, a homegrown policy. You can't do better than with such a policy. It's homegrown, it's coming from a cross-section of society. It has got the support of society. And that's exactly what every effective leader does.
And for somebody who could perhaps form the next government, the language, when you listen, does it suggest to you anger at what he may be inheriting? Because this is him. Paragraph 2. The arrogance and intransigence of a president and incompetence of a finance minister and the economic management team has led us here. Does that come across to you as someone who is unhappy at what he might be inheriting, what he might have to deal with if he becomes the next president?
In fact, I think the basic thing is that he's a Ghanaian. And given the fact that, these actions and inactions of the current leadership, the bad governance, and what it has really brought on all Ghanaians, first and foremost affects everybody. And someone who has been in leadership before, he knows. He's traveled the length and breadth of Ghana. And so he knows the social structure, the level of poverty in the system. So, the people who know Ghana's current economic mess simply tend to be afraid. We can reflect on, of course, Raymond Atuguba's concerns that he expressed. In fact, personally, at a point in time, I was angry with him for suggesting that, some, reckless individuals, in the system might want to take advantage and overthrow the system. He was expressing a fear. So definitely, yes, President Mahama, you find anger, in his terrible disappointment in his voice. and so justified. And he's not the only one who simply is beside himself. I think many women in Kenya, we see that in Madame Sophia Kufu's statement, calling them as wicked, insensitive. So there's anger in Ghanaian society now. There's anger. There's anger in Ghanaian society, and definitely the Mahama has every right to express that anger. Yes, there's anger in his voice.
But I was also wondering how bad things have to get, because typically you know how our system works. When you are failing, your opponent is gloating. How bad have things have to get, and what should we be perhaps picking from the fact that an opponent of a political party is the one suggesting that, please, I am ready to come and help you solve the problem? Should that not be telling us that the situation is very, very bad, to the extent that he wants it to, at least some work to be done on it before he even gets the opportunity to get into office?
You see, Ghana put itself in a terrible mess when, Ghanaians give themselves another idea, political leaders, progress over the constitution of the republic. The constitution has placed so much power in the hands of the president. And from all intents and purposes, you could see that Ronaldo is simply not someone who should ever have become a president of this country. He doesn't understand anything in government.
That's a strong statement to make.
It is. Only 2-3 days ago, he came out to suggest that, the economic mess will be addressed very soon. Only 2 or 3 days ago, I think he was meeting some religious leaders, and then he made some such statements. This mess is not going away anytime soon. It doesn't. Historically, countries that have done it, took 15 to 20 years. And talking about 15 to 20 years, we are talking about terrible economic, social, and economic hardship that Ghanaians, who have never benefited anything before from independence to date, are going to go through again. President Rawlings took us out of the mess of people who had caused economic mess. When he came back, and from 1983, April 1983, the PNDC went to the IMF and the World Bank, and he started to stabilize the economy. Now, remember, President Rawlings always referring to that, efforts of DS as putting on the brakes, stopping the economic, mess that had piled up over the years, and then, bringing the economy forward and moving it forward to the time that the economy was in, at the time the Fourth Republic was ushered into office. We have been sent terribly back again, so many years back. Back, terrible economic mess. It means years of hardships. Years of hardships. That is what has, been brought on all of us, Ghanaians. So, if the president doesn't know this, the magnitude of the economic mess, and meet people now, and to talk about we will get out very soon. We are not getting out anytime soon. And this is a clear demonstration of someone who does not have any clue. He doesn't. And
isn't it more a matter of optimism, hope?
You see, when you are in particular situations and you don't assess the situation very well, then you'll be able to go out and speak like that. It is good to be optimistic all the time, but you've got to face the reality. And especially when you are the number one person on the land, you confront the reality and move your people along with you as to how you are going to come out of the reality. But simply to use the words that he used, it's not a question of optimism. It's a demonstration of ignorance, terrible ignorance. He doesn't know the magnitude. And this is not the only time, he has spoken like that. Recently, when he went to speak about it, the situation in Burkina Faso and other countries, this international relations issue, we all saw the information he put out there. Anytime he has spoken on many issues, these days we have become very critical of him. What you find out is that It looks as if many of the policies that he threw out came from other people. He didn't take his time to engage them properly to understand, what really was in the policies. He was just interested in the, the PR aspects of those policies. As it says, one T, one F, and stuff like that. And that is why we are where we are. And that is one reason. The borrowing, the public debts, if he were someone with some knowledge himself, beyond what his advisors or whoever, and the chief advisor is the current finance minister, also demonstrated terrible super incompetence. So we just look at only, even at the very time everybody else saw that we had to go to the IMF and the World Bank. And other people didn't believe it. Were they engaging in politics? No, demonstration of ignorance of the very mess they themselves had created. They didn't know of the magnitude of the mess they had created. It's not a case of being optimistic here. So that is the challenge we find ourselves now moving forward. The quest for effective leadership. That is the challenge. We did a terrible thing to ourselves when we voted for another Akufo-Addo. And interestingly, he has gone down into history as the one who has taken Ghana into such a mess. This is already captured. It's a historical fact already. He spoke the loudest when he needed power. He spoke the loudest, attacked his opponents from all angles. And somehow, because he sounded so populist, 3 SHS, 1 T, 1 F, 1 this thing, 1 that, $1 million district. He sounded so populist. He successfully moved society along with it. And then at the end of the day, here we are. He's been exposed terribly. The complete absence of knowledge in his government. That is it. Maybe we can also add that, people might have come in consciously to enrich themselves, because where is the money? Where is the money that, he borrowed? And he's on record of having borrowed a huge amount of money beyond what everybody else has done historically in this country. So the question is, where is the money? Now, it's also a fact that the COVID rather benefited Ghana. So he can't go there again to hide behind the COVID. So the same question again, where is the money? It was not just a question of, mismanagement and misspending and stuff like that. It's also a question of potential investment and consciously, people coming in to turn Ghana into a banana republic, a republic where individuals can simply tap, put their hands into public funds and get away with it.
Well, let me conclude by then asking you whether you see a way out of this crisis under this administration, because there are those who suggest that barely going under an IMF program will not change anything if you don't change your conduct. What do you say?
No, but this is a true reason. When you go to the IMF and the World Bank, one thing they get you to do, if you don't go with your own homegrown policy, is to tell you that you have demonstrated indiscipline, incompetence in the management of your economy. So in a way, they tell you specifically what to do. They tell you specifically what to do as long as they continue to give you their money. The money comes in tranches. When you assuming you successfully come out of, the engagement with the IMF and the World Bank, they give you the amount of money that you want. That is not the end of the story. But I've always said this, and I'm really surprised that the media has not picked it up. I've suggested that, the government is still tickling itself and dancing to it, playing songs and stuff like that, and suggesting that there's something that they call age that they are breaking. There's nothing like that. You don't hear you say that. I don't see any positive thing coming out of this government. This government is already done. It is not lifting itself up. Between now and then the end of 2024, I don't think we would have come out of the IMF, engagement with the IMF. I don't know how much money the IMF would have given us, because the money will be given us in piecemeal fashion, to address specific, programs. I don't think we would have come out. Even if we come out of our engagement with the IMF, the economy wouldn't have turned round. No. If anything at all, if we come out successfully, maybe some sort of restructuring of the economy would have taken place. And then why is it that Ghana has been going to the IMF all the time? It's the indiscipline in government. Simple. Indiscipline in government. So that statement that you just put out is a treason. It's government that must change its ways of doing things. And it's very significant that President Mahama, not long ago came out with some suggestions, that government should pay heed to. Fiscal discipline and cut down on expenditure that should be cut down, merge some of the secretariats and stuff like that. Government should explore all means of cutting down its own expenditure and reckless spending. They are not listening. So there's nothing like age to be broken. In fact, the party is waiting fearfully to be booted out of office. The image I have is when Ronaldo visited Kumasi not long ago, and he couldn't stand up in the open vehicle that he has always been using. Before then, I suggested on some network that the MPP want to test how terribly unpopular they are in Ashanti region, that they should let Ronaldo come to Kumasi. Because Ronaldo used to be hugely popular in Kumasi. Hugely popular. And this time around, when he came, what I heard is that he stayed put in his vehicle with air conditioning on, all the windows sealed, the open top sealed up. I asked why. Someone suggested that it was because of the hooting that came from the public. The public literally hooted at another than Akufo-Addo here in Kumasi. And that is the level of unpopularity of the party. Don't forget, the majority leader was also hooted at, and people threw, water stuff at him. So things are that terrible. Party is only waiting fearfully to be booted out of office. The political scientists call it chase the rascals out of office. So that is what is awaiting them.
Chase the rascals out of office.
Yeah, that's how a political scientist captures a situation of this nature.
That the people we have in office currently are rascals that need to be chased out.
Sorry?
The people we have currently are rascals that need to be chased out.
Definitely. When your politicians come in and mismanage the affairs of the state and simply, stick to themselves, they won't listen to society. Obviously, they become rascals to be chased out.